The older, the Arnold Palmer Invitational starts tomorrow. Yes. We're going to tell you how to bet it. We've got a plus 1,600 live underdog to win it all coming your way. We're going to give you 3 bets on the Arnold Palmer Invitational. Nick Borrman will be talking about that. We got Pavlos joining us to talk soccer. Champions League is underway. He's going to look at some games on a Wednesday. That's today. Liverpool, PSG, Bayern Munich, Leverkusen, and Roma versus Rocky Balboa. We're also going to have Andy Lang. He's got some NBA for us. We're going to end the show with Gianni The Greek. I will take apart every NHL game on the board. And before we start, I just want to say, when you are wrong, you are wrong. My God, yesterday I gave out the Edmonton Oilers at -1.5 as my 4% $5 customer appreciation play. I predicted the exact score in my analysis, 6-2. I just had the wrong team. Whew, that one was bad. My apologies to everybody. But the NHL run continues. Nick Borrman joining us. Nick, I don't know why I struggle to say Arnold Palmer. I mean, that's not even like an alliteration. Like, there's nothing there. I don't know, man. It's the Leverkusen that messed me up.
The German teams will do that to you.
Yeah. So how did you do last week in the Cognizant Classic?
We had a profitable week for clients, and the matchup we gave out on the show was a winner. So it was good all the way around. Hopefully we can deliver the goods again this week. This is a much bigger event, so looking forward to kind of talking this one a little bit more.
I don't know, man. I mean, if I can remember correctly, I would think the Cognizant Classic's the biggest event of all time. Sepp Straka. He's a guy we don't hear from a lot. You know, one of those like always hovering, never going anywhere kind of a golfer. How are we betting him in the Arnold Palmer Invitational?
Well, Sepp is a winner already this season, Prez, at the American Express.
Wow.
So he's turned it on really as of late. And listen, I'm going to give a full honesty disclaimer. I don't think Sepp wins this tournament. I really only think there's 5 or 6 guys that probably have a legitimate chance to do so, but I do believe he's got a good chance to be on the first or second page of the leaderboard. So that's what I'm recommending here as a top 10 or top 20 wager on him. He played well last week at the Cognizant Classic. He finished tied for 11th. That's his 6th top 15 finish in his last 8 starts, including that win I mentioned at the American Express. His iron game is really up there with the top players in the world when you look at the strokes gain data on him for the last few seasons. He doesn't hit it long off the tee. That's what kind of holds him back. But his driver accuracy, very, very good. And this week particularly is supposed to be 4-inch rough, so staying in the fairway will be paramount. He may gain a few extra strokes off the tee just by being in play and not losing those strokes in the rough. The only negative on him this week is his history at this event is just simply not good. He's got 5 starts. 4 of those are missed cuts, and his only time he made the cut, he finished tied for 57th. But hey, the Sepp Straka of old is not the Sepp Straka of new. And last year, I'll compare it to somebody else that had a similar course history. Shane Lowry missed 4 or 5 cuts to start his career. His best finish was a 67th. He led or co-led every round last year until he ultimately finished tied for 3rd. So anything can happen. But Sepp Straka is playing well enough right now that I think he's going to be in the mix. So top 10 plus 450, top 20 plus 190, I think are both good ways to get some money on him this week.
Yeah, warning to all our guests and all our listeners, I'm in a mood, dude. You mentioned 4 inches of rough, and I'm thinking the show should be sponsored by Manscaped. What is going on up there, Nick? Anyway.
Listen,
go.
It's only a matter of time before it has to go. I'm saving, holding on for the comb over as long as possible, but
Nick,
probably time.
just pay the $3,000, head to Turkey and go get some plugs. It's not that big a deal. Rob Christensen writes, when is the Cognizant Classic? Rob, I can't remember. So, Nick, we talked about Ludwig Aberg last time you were on the show, and I had just watched Full Swing, and there's a real push for this guy. A lot of people think this is the next big golfer on tour. Clearly a handsome man as well, which doesn't help when marketing yourself. You think he has a shot at plus 1,600 to win this outright? And why not? Moving forward, he might have a shot to win every tournament he plays in, give or take, outright. So tell us why it's 1,600 and why we should bet it.
Absolutely. Ludwig is going to be a name we're going to talk about for the foreseeable future, not just this year, but barring any injuries, this kid is good, and he's going to be around for a while. Already a 3-time winner. He's got 1 on the DP World Tour and now 2 on the PGA Tour with his win in his very last start, which was the Genesis Invitational a few weeks ago. So honestly, going back-to-back for him for his starts, it's going to be tough. But Bay Hill is a very, very tough course. I already mentioned how deep the rough is, and it's got very, very fast greens. Fairways are a must to be able to keep approach shots on the green, and I just think Ludwig has the skill sets needed to win here. He's long off the tee. The course is about 7,400 yards, so that's very important. He's excellent with his irons. Last year, he finished 20th on tour in strokes gained approach, particularly from 150 yards and longer, which is going to be the main iron play this week. And when he does miss, he ranked 21st last season in strokes gained around the green. So he's got that all-around game where he's getting off the tee, he's hitting greens, and when he does it, he saves it. He really covers all the bases. And the last part I like about him is par 5 scoring is absolutely key here. Tiger Woods made a career at Bay Hill out of just eating up the par 5s. Last year, Scotty Scheffler won the tournament at 15 under. He was 12 under on the par 5. So Aberg has the length to attack them this week. I think he's going to do everything well this week again. Yes, going back-to-back is tough, so back it up maybe with the top 10, but I think he's in the mix on Sunday. I think he's going to give us a chance. And this is his 3rd time playing this event. His first 2 were top 25s, and this course does take a few trips around it, let's say, to kind of get that course knowledge. So I think he's kind of gotten that monkey off his back as well. So Ludwig, I think, is going to make a good run again this week.
Guys, you're watching WagerTalk Today. If you don't mind taking a second to hit that like button, really, really would appreciate it. Nick, you've mentioned that this is a tough course with 4 inches of rough. The winning score, it's set at 275.5. Over or under?
So I'm going over the total, and I'll do the math for everybody because we know when watching golf, it doesn't tell you their total strokes. It tells you their relation to par. Par 72, that means even par for the tournament is 288. So 12 under or lower, and we're going to win. I guess I should say higher. 12 under or higher, and we're going to win this bet. If they get to 13 under, that would be a loss. So let me explain here. Last year, I mentioned Scheffler. He reached 15 under. He won that tournament by 5 shots. So he was the only one even close to doing so. Obviously, the recipe to attacking the par 5s is key here. And I mentioned he went 12 under last year. I mean, that's ridiculously good. That's near perfect. And I just think it's unlikely to happen again. And if you look at the results of this tournament, going back several years now, so over just the last 6 years alone, only 3 times has the winner even reached double digits. And of those total 6 years, only 6 players total reached double digits under par. And before last year's Scheffler 15 under, the last person to crack 13 under was Rory McIlroy, 2018. So we're talking about one guy in the last 6 years of this tournament that's actually cracked this number. So the odds are in our favor, right? 275.5. You go over that total. Go on.
Why is this not a client play? This seems like a no-brainer bet to me.
Nobody said it wasn't. It's in my pack this week. I just given it out here for free on the show, and I'll have a code to give you the rest of them too. But
there you go.
The course I mentioned, it's more difficult this year too. It's longer rough, and then the last curveball you have is the wind is supposed to be a major factor both Thursday and Sunday. We know that just affects scoring negatively too. So I really love this total and over 275.
Yeah,
I just don't think anybody's gonna get in there. That's it.
Nick, I listened to all of the guests talk except Teddy. I tune out. And I'm hearing that, Sepp Straka bet, Ludwig Aberg plus 1,600. That one stands out to me, and I am going to bet it. So, guys, join me. Let's bet that one. Okay, Nick, what do you got going for the clients? Give out your promo code, and then we got to move on to some NBA.
Roger that. This week's tournament pack for the Arnold Palmer Invitational, you can get for $10 off. Palmer 10 is the promo code. So normally 29, it's 19. I have 4% best bets in there. Cross-sport parlays with the MLS, which I'll also mention. Bread and butter, 6 straight winning seasons, off to a 5-2 start already this year, up over 9 units. Full season package, $3.99, all the way through the end of the MLS Cup final, which is in December. So both of those available over at my page, WagerTalk, right now. So check those out. And thanks for having me on, Prez, as always.
You're awesome. Nick Borrman, everyone. So, guys, we spoke about my losing NHL play yesterday. Andy Lang joining us. Andy, when you're wrong, dude. And it's like I'm sitting there rolling in NHL. I mean, I'm seeing it so well. I lose 2 plays last week, Wednesday and Thursday. I'm like all worried. Oh, God, is the slump about to begin? Win the next 3 in a row. I have been in rhythm. And then it just came crashing yesterday. Dude, I was on the Oilers -1.5. It was 5-1 Anaheim in the first period. And it's like, I'm sitting there and it's like, I don't know where to go on either of those 2 teams right now. I felt like my handicap made a whole lot of logical sense. We had the Oilers, one of the best teams in hockey. They had lost 5 games in a row, playing horrible for that 5-game stretch. Then they go to Carolina, play one of the best games they play all year, win 3-1, have a 2-day rest, play their first home game in a month against an Anaheim Ducks team that is about to see half their team traded. Any thoughts?
I was with you. I was due for a bad night. Last night was it. I was bad in NHL. I mean, I sat here and told you to take Stamkos to not have a point. He had 3.
Yeah.
Where did that under come from?
I gave out as a free play the under in Calgary, the Calgary game, and it was like their highest scoring game of the year. Well, yesterday was horrible. Horrible.
Yeah, and it's a good topic because these daily sports, there are just these wonky nights. It happens, and it's just that's why you have to look at what's your results over the course of a season, not just one day, one night. That's why we continually talk about long-term results and stuff. And I will tell you, I will go right back to Stamkos to not have a point. These are these plays that we talk about. You just keep going back to them. We talk about this. You're trying to go like 6-2 on these streaks. You're trying to go 5-1. So we took a loss on Stamkos, but I'm not going to abandon it. It was a one-off game. Boston was terrible. Nashville played out of their minds. Doesn't mean that that's going to continue. So we'll just keep going about it. We don't panic off of one night.
And Boston is like basically in must-win mode and didn't even show up yesterday. I mean, that's something that you guys who bet the NHL need to take note of. It's one thing to go there and outshoot your opponent 40-18 and have bad puck luck and lose 2-1. It's another thing to just not show up at all. Clearly something is wrong in Boston. They are not a bet-on team moving forward. We learned a lot last night, at least from my perspective. And if you're going to lose, at least learn. I was playing poker on Sunday with a friend of mine, and he had a pair of 10s to a 9-high board. He bet, and the guy shoved on him, and he folded. And it was a horrible fold. And I said to him afterwards, well, did you learn anything? No. Arrogant people. Anyway, Andy Lang, you got an NBA bet on Rudy Gobert. What is it?
Rudy Gobert. Let's take Gobert over 9.5 points. He's got a lot of good things going for him. First off, he's gone over in 7 out of 8 games. Julius Randle being back actually kind of helps him a little bit. There's more room to operate, even though Randle shoots the ball seemingly every time he touches it. But Rudy Gobert was averaging 8.4 shot attempts per game recently, shooting 67% from the field because his shots are right around the rim, averaging 3 free throw makes per game in the last 10. That's big when you got a low point total like 9.5. and he gets a great matchup against the Hornets. The Hornets give up 23 points per game to centers. Like every setter just goes off on them. Draymond Green torched this total twice in the last few games against them. So Rudy Gobert over 9.5 points. They just don't have a ton of rim protection. I would expect to get him up and over this 9.5 point total.
Andy Lang, I was on Milwaukee last night, had him at -6. They ended up pushing. At first, I was livid. I was like, oh, I'm going to lose on a frickin' missed free throw. Then it pushed on a technical foul. Thank you, Lord. You've got a bet for us on this Milwaukee Bucks game. What is it?
Oh, man, I love this one. This is going to be a client play. Milwaukee Bucks over 116.5 on the team total. Last three games, 127, 132, and 121 points. What's crazy about that point total is that in those three games, they're still not even like the number one offensive team. They're actually number 9. But that 132 points that they scored, that was against Dallas, and that's who they play tonight. We talked about Dallas just being ravaged with injuries, morale all-time low with them. Their starting lineup is so bad. And last game, I watched last game because I had a bet on that one. And once Kyrie went out, they were so demoralized. Dallas, they gave up 122 points to Sacramento in that game. I just don't see a lot of defense. They have Klay Thompson out there who can't keep up with anybody. Edwards is out there. Powell is going to have to play big time minutes. This is just going to be a nightmare matchup. Giannis is questionable. I don't care. If he doesn't play, Milwaukee's going to put more guys in there, and Lillard's probably going to have 40 on him tonight if Giannis doesn't play. But if Giannis plays, this is going to be a big, big win for Milwaukee, and I will take their over 116.5 team total.
Andy Lang joining us. Washington Redskins writes, Prez, I brought a 0.5 point at 5.5 on the Bucks. So he paid money to buy off of a push from 6 to 5.5. He actually handed money to a person. Now, Washington Redskin and these guys sit there and they say, what's the difference between buying a 0.5 point and getting it down to -130 or -140 versus the Washington, betting a money line bet at -130? There's a massive difference. Firstly, we don't have the option of betting the Washington Capitals at -120 if the line is -130. So that option simply doesn't exist. Secondly, if we're going to bet a -200, we're going to sit there and say, is that team going to win 2 out of 3 times, so to speak? In regards to buying a 0.5 point, it is straight math, Andy, straight math. If you take every game that's -6, and you bet it at -6 all the way, 1,000 of them, and you buy 0.5 point to -5.5, and you bet 1,000 of them in the exact same scenario, you will make more money betting the -6. We have done this math. We have done this 1,000 times. Like, Ralph has come on here with the math. I broke it down with the math. Gianni has broken it down with the math. Math doesn't care at all about my opinion. It doesn't care about Wash's opinion. It doesn't care about anybody's damn opinion. Math is one of the few things in this world that are actual facts. Unless you're Cuba Gooding Jr., who's currently disagreeing with math right now, but Terrence Howard, my bad. Terrence Howard. He's currently disputing math as we know it. But other than him, math is math. Okay, Andy, I'm sorry, man. Buying 0.5 points in basketball. What are your thoughts?
I would never buy a point. I've never done that ever. So, because to me, if you're like, I need to buy a point, then that means the bet isn't solid. So I wouldn't. I'd never do it. So,
yeah. And Wash Redskin writes, I do it every once in a while, dude. Relax. Firstly, nobody dudes me. Okay? You can dude me anytime. Secondly, doing it once in a while is even dumber. Either do it every single time or do it never. picking and choosing when to do it, that just adds a new variable into the mix. Anyway, Wash, I love you, bro. We're good. We're all good. I'm just trying to give out some good information. UFC, Andy Lang, unbelievable bettor in the sport. You've got a bet for us on the upcoming UFC fight card. What is it?
Yeah, we did good on this show last week. We told you about Sam Patterson to win as an underdog. He did, and then we hit our violence parlay. That was a lot of fun. So I think we'll do that on Fridays. Prez, we're going to do either a peaceful parlay. I laughed you called it a peaceful parlay. So we'll pick a peaceful parlay or a violent parlay on Friday. So I'm looking forward to that. Let's talk Curtis Blades and Rizvan Kanayev. Over 2.5 rounds at plus money. These guys have a ton of finishes on their record, but I think their styles are going to cancel each other out. I think we might be in store for a wrestling match. Kanayev came over from PFL, tested positive for every steroid. So he had to take some time off there, Prez. He comes on Contender Series and fights an absolute nobody, knocks him out. So he's now in the UFC. Blades and Kanayev, I think they're going to hold each other up against the fence, and I think there's going to be a lot of pushing around and wrestling and grappling. Watch Kanayev do this in PFL against Renan Ferreira, where he just closed the distance and took away the big power punching. These guys do have a lot of finishes on their record, especially Curtis Blades recently, but I think this one at plus money is going to be pretty good to sprinkle over 2.5 rounds.
Andy Lang. Andy, what do you got to promote?
New special is up if you're looking for long-term, which you should be. That's what we always preach. We've got buy 2 months, get one free. We have been just profitable all year. We had a bad night. Doesn't matter because we look at long-term, and that's why we're trying to run more of these long-term specials to get people on board so you can experience what it's like just over a few months. So buy 2 months, get one free. We do not fire off these huge percentage games on nationally televised games. You guys know we pick apart the sports and the soft lines, the lines that the bookmakers and the general public are not paying attention to. Up 128 units last year, 93 units the previous year. We're already over 35 units for this year, 17-4 run in NBA, and that's going to include the 5% play that goes off this weekend. So jump on board that. Buy 2 months, get one free, WT.buzz/AL.
Love it, Andy Lang. And guys, I would use that promo on Andy Lang. That is for sure. There's a reason he's one of two that are on the show every single day. He's a really, really excellent bettor and really fun to follow as well. It covers every single sport. It gives you guys the parlays you all crave. And he does not buy half points. Anyway, lots of love to everybody in the chat room. Alvarez, B, Daddy, Eric D. Wash, I still love you, bro. Bill Sanderville, always nice to see you guys. FB Coach, Titans, Michael Martinez, thanks for the kind words. If you guys don't mind taking a second out of your day and hitting that like button, subscribing to our channel, it would be greatly appreciated. And keep in mind, put down in your calendar, Monday, March 31st, I have an NHL show coming your way that I will be doing every single day. I'm going to be doing it with a very famous ex-NHL hockey player who is a betting legend. So stay tuned for more information on that. Speaking of a betting legend, Pavlos Laguretos joining us all the way from Greece. How are you, my friend?
Very well, but I'm still in Sri Lanka.
You could just pretend.
Still here, though.
What are you doing in Sri Lanka?
Vacation, my wife needed the vacation, so we're here for 2 weeks, 5 more days left. It's been really, really great. Amazing country, has some good, has some bad. But here I am, on off hours, just doing shows and providing actionable information because, we got Champions League. It's the hottest season in soccer. First leg of the round of 16. We got some huge matchups today. And of course, next week on Tuesday and Wednesday, we also have the second legs of this tie. So it's really a really, really good betting period for soccer.
So let's get into it. All of these games go at 3 p.m. Eastern. It's all Champions League. Pavlos is going to tell you exactly how to bet these games. The first is PSG, which is Paris Saint-Germain against Liverpool. How are you betting this one, brother? The Reds, the Blues, the Greens?
The Reds. We like the Reds here on the pick'em line. It's still, I think, at even money. It used to be plus 105. It moved down a little bit. It's now at even money. I do like Liverpool to not get beat here. I know PSG, they're doing well at home. They might get a lot of public money because, they're dropping 7, 6, 5 goals against anybody. But if you look closely, these teams are regional teams or teams that are just not very good. Now up against them is Liverpool, a team that's arguably played the best soccer out of all the top 4 leagues, top 5 leagues in Europe this season. Under a new coach, they're looking rejuvenated. They've only lost, I think, 4 games in the season, and there is a reason why they lost those games, because they didn't care. They used, actually in 3 or 4 losses, they used their reserves. Most of them were cup matches, and one of them, was they did lose in the final match day of the league phase of the Champions League, but they didn't even need to win. That's the thing. They put their mix between their second team and their third team, and they still almost beat PSV. So take those losses with a grain of salt, because Liverpool were not using starters. Now, they're firing in all cylinders. Since you mentioned, Nick going to Turkey for a hair transplant, Salah has been just bowling since he did his hair, at the start of the season. This Liverpool side, they give me no reason to fade them. But PSG, I know they have a really strong squad. They're doing really, really well. But for whatever reason, PSG are chokers. They're major chokers in the Champions League. They only made the final once in recent memory. They usually get eliminated in the round of 16, maybe the quarterfinals as well. And this is a team that used to have Messi, Neymar, Mbappe, all in the same squad. They have Ibrahimovic, Cavani, for those of you, who remember. But for whatever reason, these guys are chokers. Now they do have a decent young team, but Liverpool have the experience, they have the talent, they have the history, they have a better coach, I think. So I think they're not going to lose this one. So give me Liverpool on the pick'em line, even money. I'm more than happy to side with this.
Well,
and this actually is a client play for me.
Couple of client plays already given out today, guys. The golf tournament that is starting over 275.5, I think, for the final score. That was a client play from Nick. Pavlos just gave out Liverpool pick'em plus 105. Pavlos, Bayern Munich, always in the thick of things. One of the best franchises in the world. They're playing Leverkusen, who's never in the thick of things. Now you're going to tell me that Leverkusen just won a huge event last week, just like when I walked into it on Sepp Straka. I don't believe you if you say that. How do we bet this game?
Pretty simple. I like Bayern Munich moneyline minus 135. There's a double read in this match, because Bayern Munich, they didn't win. They didn't beat Leverkusen in each of the last 6 matches. And I really struggle to remember the last time that Bayern Munich didn't win 6 or now 7 consecutive matches against anybody. And, these teams, they met already 3 times this season, twice for the Bundesliga and once in the Cup. Of course, Bayern Munich didn't win a single game, and all 3 went to the under. So I expect a lot of things to change here. Of course, if you believe in history, you can still fade Bayern Munich,
right.
But there's reasons. There's a lot of reasons to. This is also a client play of mine. First of all, the Champions League final is taking place in Munich, in Bayern Munich's home ground. So whenever you have a team that's that knows that the Champions League final is at their own venue, they go above and beyond. Now, second, they're playing at home, which is really, really a really strong atmosphere. And Champions League play is different than domestic play. And I know Leverkusen won the domestic double last season, but last season was Bayern's worst season in half a century, probably. This season, Bayern Munich, as I said, they didn't win any of the 3 matches they played against Leverkusen, but there are reasons for that. In the Cup, They met in the cup. Bayern Munich's goalkeeper got an early red. It was an ugly foul, and it was actually his first red of his career. The guy is like 38 years old, so take that with a grain of salt. And in the other match, it was a goalless draw in Leverkusen, but Bayern didn't even need to win that one. A draw was enough to keep Leverkusen 8 points behind, so Bayern Munich are on track to win the domestic title. Now playing at home, one of the best and strongest teams with strong pedigree, especially when playing at home in the Champions League. I like Bayern Munich money line minus 135.
Awesome, guys. Pavlos on a 19-6 run in his 4% releases. He's got a promo to give out. SOC7. That's without a K. SOC7. Get 7 days of all of his bets for $49. That's $7 a day. That is a great way to play Pavlos. Check him out. Try him. He writes analysis. He puts up his bets. He's really good at what he does. $49 for 7 days. Use the promo code SOC7. Pavlos, I need you to be quick here, but we got Romo versus Balboa. You like both teams to score a goal, and that's minus 115. This game goes tomorrow, Thursday, 3 p.m. Eastern. Tell us quickly.
Yeah, first of all, the Europa League final is in Bilbao, so I like, as I said before, I like the team that's that plays. That the final is played in their home ground to progress as much as possible. Now, Bilbao, they've scored in all their away matches except 2, and one of them was against Atletico Madrid over the weekend, which was a distraction, and the other one was against Mallorca, who's always really hard to score against. So I do expect Bilbao to get in the score sheet. Now, Roma, they're playing at home. Roma know that they have weaknesses when they play on the road, and they know that the second leg in Bilbao is going to be a nightmare for them. They're probably not going to win, so they need to win at home. Now, they've been really good at home, scoring 2, 3, 4, 5 goals against anybody, and these two also met in the same venue in the league phase of the Europa League, and it was a 1-1 draw. So I think this match easily starts at 1-1. Don't care who wins. Give me both teams to score. I think this is an easy play for Thursday. And I must say that I do have a 5% for the Europa League on Thursday. And I have a 6-pack actually for today with 4 Champions League plays, all 3%, 4% tonight in the CONCACAF Champions Cup, and 3% in the Copa Libertadores. So 6 plays for today, 1 best bet, and 5% top bet. It's a money line in the Europa League. I took 1 team to win tomorrow in the Europa League.
There we go. Pavlos Laguretos. Great stuff, dude. Love having you on. Thanks for doing this. I don't know what time zone Sri Lanka's in, but I'm sure it's close to bedtime. Pavlos, everybody. Okay, guys, before we bring on Gianni The Greek, I'm going to give you guys one really strong NHL bet rather than going down every game on the board. And I also want to discuss that poker hand. I told you guys at the beginning of the show, a friend of mine on Sunday had a pair of 10s to a 9-high board post flop. He bet. Another guy shoved on him and he folded. And I mentioned that I thought that was the wrong play. A couple of you guys in the chat room said, why is that the wrong play? So I'm going to explain because it's a fascinating hand. So first and foremost, you got to take a lot into account. And one of the most important things you have to take into account when playing poker is the size of your opponent's chip stack. So in regards to this specific hand, the person who had 10s had half the chip stack of the bully. So he raised pre-flop with 10s. The person called pre-flop with 10s. Now, with whatever he had. So he did not raise pre-flop. So anybody who has another person 2-to-1 chip stack size. So if I have 100,000 chips and my opponent has 50,000 chips and they raise pre-flop and I have an ace king, ace queen, I'm shoving. Or I'm at least re-raising. But I'm likely shoving. So the fact that the person didn't raise the 10 raiser pre-flop says no jacks, no queens, no kings, no aces. There is no chance that a person who knows how to play poker, who has his opponent 2-1 on chip size, is going to call pre-flop with jacks, queens, kings, or aces. So that means that that person could, and then the flop goes 3-7-9, rainbow board, no flush, no straight. The tens bet. The opponent shoves all in. That opponent can only shove all in with two types of hands. He's hit a set. I don't know if he shoves there with a set. That doesn't make like a lot of sense. He's being bet into. The tens were the aggressor. I think he calls there. Maybe raises slightly, but shoving with a set against a rainbow board with no straight doesn't make sense. We know he doesn't have jacks, queens, kings, or aces because he would have raised pre-flop. And we know he has us 2-1 in chip stack. He thinks we have what? What does he think we have? We would not make a bet with a set, so he knows we don't have a set. So that means that we either have tens, jacks, queens, kings, aces, or most likely ace, king, or ace, queen. Even if we have jacks or queens, his 2-1 shove on us means that we are putting our tournament life on the line with an overpair. That makes no sense to do. So he knows that 8 out of 10 times, unless we have a set, we're going to fold those tens. So anybody in his position with ace, king, or ace, queen who is an aggressive player shoves. That's why the tens need to call. Because he doesn't have jacks, queens, kings, or aces. He wouldn't make that bet with a set. The only option that he would have is ace, king, ace, queen. And strangely enough, he had ace, queen. And the tens should have called. As for the NHL play, guys, I absolutely love the under 6 in the Ottawa-Chicago game. Love it. I'm betting it, and I suggest you do as well. Gianni The Greek joining us. How are you, my friend? What did you think of that? What do you think of that poker breakdown? Was it too damn confusing?
No, detailed. That's how you got to do it. If you're going to share those maneuvers, you got to be detailed. That's the only way to explain it. So no, I don't think so. Especially if you're a poker player, it made perfect sense. So no. You got to be in depth. You got to be in depth, Prez, for it to make sense.
And Gianni, you know, the main problem that most people have when playing poker, honestly, is they never ask the two most important questions. What does my opponent have? And what does my opponent think I have?
That's it. That's first and second level thinking. And then you take it even farther. What do I have? What does my opponent have? What does my opponent think I have? What does my opponent think I think? You know, that think he has.
Right.
What does he? It just keeps going more and more and more and more. The more in depth, at least sitting there talking to some professional poker players, because, you know, they all have accounts. So I meet with a handful of them that play high level poker. And that's what they always say. It's the higher the level you get to, the more you're trying to outwit your opponent by thinking, what do I think he has? What does he think I have? And how do you fool that? You know, going back and forth. He takes it like to the next level. So I love that kind of thinking. It's like chess.
Guys, let me know what you think of my breakdown. Roger Long, I like the poker analysis. Michael Martinez, that was a beautiful breakdown. Thanks, guys. Waj, what's your thoughts? I answered your question. Gianni, let's go, brother. What do we got? What do we got in hoops tonight from all the steam that you find out there?
All right, first, let's start off. Let me give a little bonus play for the hockey fans out there. You still have time. You got about 45 minutes to bet Austrian hockey. It's in Austria. And we went under 6.5 on EC Graz 99ers versus the Black Wings Linz. It's the only game on the board in Austria today. And we went under 6.5 at -110, -115, -120, -125. So expecting less than 7 goals there. Only NBA play I have for you today is on the Miami Heat plus the 11.5. I think that's still available. Couple college basketball games in the tournaments. Start off with Wagner and St. Francis in the Northeastern Conference. We went under 124.5 and 124 in the what other conference? In the Sun Belt Conference, we bet Georgia Southern minus 3.5 and 4. A couple other games for you. We also bet Xavier at -2, but that's gone. I think it's up to 4 now. I wouldn't really mess with it. We took Stanford minus the 1.5, and on the money line. We took 708 under 162.5 and 162 Missouri, Oklahoma. St. Joe's minus 10.5 and 11. We also took the 3 on Mississippi and the 13, 12.5 on LaSalle. So already getting involved in college basketball for today. I fired a 5-pack for my subscribers. Coming off a losing day yesterday, I do have a 4% in there for you today. Listen, I tell you when I win, I tell you when I lose. I have one goal, and if our goals align, I will not disappoint you. And that's when December 31st rolls around, to have been profitable, to be in that 0.5% that actually turned the profit over the last 365 days. And like I said, with the information I have in my fingertips right now, I make myself a favorite, and I want that pressure on me coming off a negative year in 2024, brother. I have UFC already up. 5 plays in UFC with a 5% play. You know the record on those. Don't need to repeat myself. And finally, 7 MLB win totals with a 5% that I released yesterday. I'm 100% on those over the last 2 seasons. Not on the 5%, on season win totals overall in Major League Baseball.
Right.
Last year, 100%. The year before that, 100%. So I got 7 of them this season, more than I've had in the last 2, in either of the last 2. So yeah, really, like I said, really excited for baseball because of the group I'm finally hooked back up with that gave me that phenomenal couple years run. And I was getting their stuff, but not moving for them in 2021 when I finished number 1 in baseball at WagerTalk. So should have good stuff. Excited about what's ahead. Busy couple days with Slap on Friday, UFC on Saturday. I'm even taping a show today, Prez, for the UFC today, taping a podcast tonight, doing another show tomorrow, UFC related. So yeah, real busy, but I love it.
Okay, so a couple of things stood out to me over with all of that. Number one, you just gave us a bet on Austrian hockey. Is that correct?
Indeed, under 6.5. Yes, sir.
Okay, so let's just pull back for a second. Can you explain where the hell you get this information? I mean, I know this guy. That give us like a proper Austrian hockey.
Yeah,
Austrian hockey.
There's a lot of stuff I can't even share, Prez, because it's so time sensitive. Right now I'm working, thank God, back with the point man. That's what I call him. And fortunately, he's Greek like me, so we have a really good bond, okay? He is a professional poker player, elite poker player. Some would even know his name because he's been in magazines. To make a long story short, he has so many accounts because the Poker Kids started those guys from Chip Reese. Chip Reese is the best 7-card stud player that ever lived. But what people don't know about Chip Reese is he created a baseball algorithm that destroyed the books. He passed away, but they continued on. Obviously, he had a nephew that continued it. To make a long story short, I have the point man, and what I do is provide accounts for him and in part of their instant messaging where things come in from guys he's connected to all over the world, bro. I mean, they're getting like Russian information, China information, information from Africa, information from South America. Most of that, like I said, is so time sensitive, or even the limits are low where I don't even release the subscribers. Like, I'm not going to send them this Austrian play because I know half my subscribers aren't going to be able to bet it. And if it wins, that's great for me. It's great for my results. But if their results don't reflect mine when the year's over, then I didn't do my job for them. And that's how I'm able to get this kind of information, because I work with someone who's the point man for different groups that, again, all contribute. Like I said, they're specialists in different sports. And what they do is they share accounts. I'll give you my MMA stuff. You give me your tennis stuff.
Right.
You give me your soccer stuff. I'll give you my college basketball stuff. You give me your NBA stuff. So that's how that works. And whoever is in Europe that they have that sometimes puts soccer and things like that, Today he found an Austrian hockey game that hit the instant messaging board. I bet it for myself. I couldn't get them down more than a dime, to be honest with you. One of the books limits me to $100. A book that I could get 5 dimes down on pretty much anything else. I put just 500 to see what happens, and it said $100 limit on those. They're hard to bet. Wow. It's kind of like those props and some of those other sports where there's small markets. If you're a small bettor, it's great. Take advantage of that kind of stuff. But for the bigger guys, it's hard to take advantage with that kind of information. But that's usually the strongest. That's why the limits are so low, because they know anyone that's betting that stuff is probably going to have an edge, going to have an advantage. You're not betting Austrian soccer unless you feel confident you have an edge. You know what I mean? Where that source is coming from.
There we go. Wonderful work, Gianni the Greek.
Thank you, brother.
Anything else you want to talk about real quick? We have a few minutes if you want to use them.
No, just, again, appreciate all the support. And make sure if you got Fight Pass today, live at 3 p.m. Eastern, 3 p.m. Pacific, 6 p.m. Eastern, we will be doing UFC on the line. And you'll get a lot of good information for that UFC 313 card. And I'm doing another live MMA show tonight with Dan. Most people in the fight game know who he is if on social media. Anyway, so a lot of UFC over the next couple of days, and I will be at Slap at Fountain Blue on Friday night. It's one of the best events to go to. Honestly, Prez, if you come in town where there's a Slap event, I'm taking you. I am taking you to Slap, and you're going to be like, oh my God, this is like so much fun. It's just fun to be there. So I'll be there. Won't be at UFC 313 unless somehow I land tickets between now and then. But I am excited about that card. I rarely release that many bets early in the week. But I'm already down on 5 bets that I feel very confident with. And just going to keep grinding college basketball and NBA till we get to the March Madness. And baseball's beginning. Win totals out of the way. Now we can focus game by game. Thank you, brother, for having me on.
What a segment. Great show. Thank you, everybody, for being here with us in the chat room, hitting that like button, subscribing to our channel. Shout out to Nick Borrman, Andy Lang, Pavlos, and Gianni. Great guests. Tomorrow's lineup, Teddy covers. He'll be looking at Michigan State versus Iowa, 76ers versus the Celtics, and the Knicks versus the Lakers. Kyle Anthony's coming on to talk some UFC. Andy Lang with some prop bets. And like always, we end the show with the great Gianni the Greek. I'm Lawrence Presman. On behalf of Dan Alexander, my awesome producer, we'll see you all tomorrow.